Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Moss here with a Pioneer video. So, our team captain managed to come away from the last weekend of events with two pretty decent, victories. One in RCQ, came in top 8 of a 1K. On the other hand, I didn't do so hot. Just bubbled out in ninth at the RCQ and 12th in the 1K. And, might as well just go ahead, run back the deck that I run primarily in Pioneer. There's a lot more RCQs that are Pioneer around us. So, decide not, why not run Rakdos? I mean, deck itself, fairly standard. You've got the Chandra, which is a little bit of new tech. Honestly, the deck itself has some problems going into the late game. So having Chandra on top of having Shieldred does give you some inevitability in the late game. Kroxa, Reckoner, Bankbuster, normal. Kolaghan's command to deal with any of the artifacts that show up in the format, and then obviously Fatal Push Thoughtseize. In the sideboard, go blank for Greasefang, 3 extinction events because mono green is a nightmare. A Braid just because, again, extra artifact removal, pretty big. Pithing Needle is vital in stopping any like Jund food or Rakdos food decks, as I discovered over the weekend. But let's go ahead and run this through a Pioneer League, and I'll see you guys in the next match. All right, so we are in match number 1, and we are going to be on the play. Okay, so hand has a Fable, it's got a Shieldred, it's got Chandra. We've got 2 of our top end pieces, but overall the rest of the hand's pretty fine, so we're going to keep. Ooh, and our opponent is mulliganing, so fingers crossed that this actually winds up decent. Okay, let's start by playing a Blight Step and Pass. Start on the untapped land and try to save yourself as much damage as possible. And we're playing against green something, so that's just dying on sight. Alright, so here we're just going to let the land come in tapped. That Thoughtseize off the top is great, so now we can see what our opponent's doing. Oh, they're just straight up playing elves. So, honestly, you got the 1/1s, you got Dwynen's Elite. We're going to take the Clan Caller because taking out the Lord just is infinitely better. Alright, opponent shocks in their Overgrown Tomb. They play their Leaf Crown Visionary. Cool, so boop, boop. Well, we know that they have the Nykthos in hand. They're probably going to play it next turn. We're going to represent that we have a Fatal Push or something here. Make them just a little bit hesitant to play anything. If we draw a land and we play Chandra, then we're just going to absolutely go nuts this next turn. Alright, there's the Dwynen's Elite and the card draw off the top. Alright, cool. And now they've got 3 Devotion on the field. Okay. I mean, could certainly be worse, but I really can't complain in this situation. We're going to pass, and yep, that's the scenario that we wanted to avoid. Alright. Alright, so now we are in a bad spot, I really want to argue, but we're going to sacrifice our Blood Tithe Harvester just to take out their Leaf Crown Visionary. Any Lord is a bad Lord for us. Alright, they're just going to swing in. We're going to take the 2, save Blood Tithe for a better threat. Instead, they just pass. Well, we're going to go ahead and play Fable. We're playing right into a potential, like a collected company here, and it's just going to blow us out if that's the case. but I think we honestly have to deal with that. Yeah. All right, so opponent's got the Coco. Find a War Master and a War Master. Game is getting away from us here, but thankfully in the side we've got the extinction events, which will really kind of turn things for us. Opponent's going to... Alright, play another Dwynen's Elite. I think this turn we really can't, be too picky about what we're going to do as far as blocks and things go. So however they decide to swing is what we're probably going to deal with. If they just hold back, then we know that they're going to alpha next turn. Yeah, they're just going to alpha and overrun. Alright, so we got the land, but I think it's just a little too late for us here. Our biggest thing is just trying to get through another turn. I think we got to get rid of the Bank Buster. Shieldred's not really doing a whole lot for us in this scenario, but I mean, having another body helps. But I think we're just going to risk it for 2 pieces of removal. Okay. So, believe it or not, I actually think we're not in too bad of shape here. So what we're going to do is kill one War Master with that, and then we're going to stomp another, and then we're going to swing. It's arguable that we could have kept the Shieldred over the Chandra, but I still think having the ability to have creature removal in some form, the big butt is worth it, but it can get blown out by something, and realistically, this deck could run all sorts of removal, potentially. It's in the right colors, at least, but kind of takes away from their overall package. Alright, so play out Bone Crusher Giant, and then red, and then pass to opponent. Alright, so they've got the potential to drop a lot of damage on us. And this gets them the dub. Yep. Alright, sweet. Good game, opponent. Alright, into sideboarding. Now, this deck really just runs its hand out quickly, so Thoughtseize is not going to be necessary. We want just as much removal as possible. Abrade, Noxious Grasp, and then our extinction events. We're going to go ahead and drop the Chandra because right now we're just, again, trying to get as many creatures off the board as possible. Alright. Okay, so we are going to be on the play again. Hand is a lot more keepable. Don't like the fact that we've only got 2 lands though, but we'll have to deal with it. Alright, play the Haunted Ridge, go. So the whole reason we're not going to play a Blood Crypt this turn is simply because, again, preserving our life total as much as possible. And we're going to have 2 untapped mana on our next turn. So we're going to be able to do a lot with it. And honestly, that Noxious Grasp is good. Would have preferred a land, though. So we're just going to push the elf and pass. Alright, opponent plays a Blooming Marsh. They're going to take 2, or rather take 1, play their Clan Caller, and then we're just going to push that. Again, this deck doing what it does best, just being mono removal. All right, here, let's just go ahead and establish some amount of a board presence. We've got 2 pieces of removal, so that's fine. All right, opponent is played a Llanowar Waste, going for 3, questioning it. All right, they play a War Master and then play an Elves, trigger the War Master. I got way too used to Arena and dragging my cards. All right. Let's go ahead and just cycle this blood token and drop Kroxa. We really need land more than anything else here. All right, we're going to attack and force them to double block, and if they do, that means that their hand is absolutely stacked. All right, so they don't take it. Chances are they might have a Lord in hand, so they're going to try to get through for 4. Okay, they just pass with 4 mana up. We know that they're obviously about to Coco here. So, honestly, I think we just need to go ahead and cast the Graveyard Trespasser and start just having something passive that we can hold up. And now that it's daytime, we just got to wait for them to not cast anything on their turn, which an aggro deck should, get everything done either as quickly as they can on their turn or save it into hours, like they are with the Coco again. All right, Realm Walker and a Leaf Crown Visionary. Leaf Crown Visionary is really going to be a beating for us since they can pump that Realm Walker to where it just blocks everything we have effectively. All right, opponent is really considering what they could be doing this turn. Are they going for another Coco? No, they go for Circle of Dreams Druid. Interesting. But I mean, it's a good, almost cradle, so I get it. All right, so land on this next turn. It's going to be great, and there it is. All right, let's go ahead and take out Leaf Crown. Let's swing. Now, opponent's gonna try to kill everything that we have. And, it's reasonable that they would. After this turn, when we remove something else, is opponent just gonna chump? Okay. So they really wanted to keep this Circle of Dreams Druid. But we're just gonna go ahead and deal with that. We don't necessarily want them, having enough mana to just do crazy things and go off. It's the closest thing that they've got to Hermit Druid out of the modern version. Dwynen's Elite. Now, if we were to pull a extinction event in this situation, we really want to consider just extinctioning event on odd to just take out their sources of mana, because they haven't played a land in a little bit. But this Leaf Crown Visionary really, again, changes that whole dynamic. All right, we're going to play Kroxa. We're just going to force through our damage as much as we can through any means that we can. All right. All right, so they dropped a Steel Leaf Champion. That's definitely a house against us. I mean, we have to have, good removal. Somehow manage to get the revolt with the fatal push in order to get rid of it. So it's a smart move. Takes out a shield rid effectively. Now, opponent can't attack into us. That's the one thing that really benefits us in this position. They can draw. They can draw like wildfire. But if their draws aren't hot, then we just wax them. Alright, they play Steel Leaf Champion. They don't draw a card. Okay. Now, opponent probably is just gonna, sit here. Probably just, sit behind their creatures, amass a board. Or they can really just go off and almost crater hoof us here. Alright, they just play another Leaf Crown Visionary. Not going to play any green overrun effects. Okay, they get a Coco. But I don't think they're really going to get there. Okay. Another Leaf Crown Visionary and a Steel Leaf Champion off the top. Two of them, actually. So, double pumping really bites. I get why that happened, but it just does not feel good for us in this situation at all. Again, our next card has to be Extinction Event or Bust. And even with Extinction Event, we have to really be careful about what we pick. Yeah, opponent's just going to overwhelm our board in a significant way. Okay. So, we're going to accrue. Okay. Now, how are we going to block? Block here, and block here. Now, we could just try to block every 6 damage that we can, but again, we are just too deep in the hole here to really try and pull ourselves out. Yep. All right. GG's. Into the next match. All right, we're in match number 2, and we get to be on the play again. All right. So, hand is removal, creatures. Got a nice 1-2 curve. Really not a whole lot more that this deck can ask for. All right, Urborg pass. The only thing that's going to be real unfortunate is if this Urborg ends up giving our opponent black mana for things. If they're a Niv to Light deck, for whatever reason, that could show up. Alright, just play an elf, it gets pushed. Sweet. Alright, we're going to Shock and Crypt, play Misery Shadow. This has got to stop anything. Yeah, it's mono green. Alright, so we've definitely got a interesting matchup to deal with here. I think honestly the best scenario for us here is just to stomp this Mystic and really just try to push. I think early game with the aggression that we can maintain is going to be good here. Misery Shadow definitely helps make this matchup just a bit more even in the end. Alright, Kiora. Oath of Nissa. Let's see, what did our opponent reveal? They revealed Boseiju. Okay. Yeah, we can't let our opponent potentially untap and start doing Nykthos things. Alright. It definitely stops us from, doing a lot on our turn, but again, shutting down their potential to go off quickly is important for us. Okay. So with this Urborg, we can basically get away with whatever we want to. We're going to play Graveyard Trespasser, and we're going to eat their Kiora. I know it definitely seems better to just take the Llanowar Elf there and get through, again, that extra damage, but knowing they can go through Karn loops and get stuff back is just too important not to, kind of deal with. Alright, opponent is down to 15. 4 mana, they have a Nykthos, but only 1 devotion. Well, now they're at 4 devotion. Okay. So, what we need to do here is go ahead, swing with Misery Shadow. Okay, let's see. Okay. Well, again, we're in such a really weird position because we can shut off their ability to do things on a later turn, but I think we just need to go ahead and jam through things that help us advance into better removal. As tempting as it would be for us to, eat one of the Cavaliers out of their yard and just like sneak a little extra damage in, we can't really risk it too much. All right, so they're going to storm. Let's see if they manage to start popping off here, but it doesn't really look like it. Cavalier, as long as they don't hit another Nykthos, we're good. They just hit a Lair of the Hydra, but they had the Nykthos in hand. Alright, so 7 mana. They can play some extra stuff out of their hand, a fresh. Well, Nicol Bolas is definitely a card. Alright, so targeting our Misery Shadow. I mean, smart move on our opponent's part there. Can't fault them for a good choice. And then they Boseiju our... We knew they had the Boseiju, though. We did know that they had the Boseiju. Alright, we're just going to go ahead and get the Blood Crypt tapped. Alright, so... what else can we do here? Alright, so Blood Tithe Harvester. Alright, what we need to do is just go ahead and eat up their Storm the Festival. Because, again, keeping them from going off again is just so ideal in this scenario. But now we get to be on the back foot. They got one card in hand. Alright, so we get to exile something or a permanent. I mean, make it hard for them to actually do their thing. No black mana to potentially Karn loop. Okay, they're just going to enchant one of their lands and then play that. They can still pop it this turn if they want to. Or they can just make a big layer of the Hydra. Realistically, they could do both. Make a 5, or no, a 4/4, and then crack for Wolf Willow. Instead, opponent's just going to lose that mana, move to combat, and not do anything. Rad. Okay, cool. So we are just seeing a lot of these graveyard trespassers. And honestly, I just want to drop this one now. Because this is not really going to help us at all in this situation. Okay. And that's not much better. Wow. Alright, so 2 cards deeper and nowhere closer to actually being in a winnable position here. Opponent's got a lot of live top decks going on. Okay, so what do we want to get rid of here? Alright, we'll just get rid of a Blood Tithe Harvester. I mean, at this point, it and the Goblin Shaman are really doing the same thing for us. Alright, Lovestruck Beast, Elvish Mystic. Yeah. Cool. Play land. Alright, let's just... Wow. Alright. This hurts to see. Now, if only this triggered on, like, transforming, it would be even better, but it doesn't. Alright, and opponent gets Karn. So, let's see. Opponent could just get, like, the boat out of their sideboard. Alright. Because boat kills mostly everything on our board. Do they have enough to do the Cauldron loop? I don't think they do. They're only generating 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They technically need like 12 or 14 to do the loop. Alright, they play Cavalier. They're definitely at the mana parity now. They also need a copy of Karn and Kiora in the graveyard, but now they've got that and then some. Yeah, nope. And with that, we can definitely concede. Alright, so rough matchup that we're in right now. Let's go ahead and just bring in the extinction events, the Noxious Grasp, the Downfalls, and Pithing Needle. We're gonna drop Chandra in a heartbeat. Let's see, what else can we do? Bankbuster's not doing a whole lot. Taking out Push seems kind of good in this scenario. And removing the K command. Yeah. Alright, cool. Do it like that. All right, let's see. All right, on the play, hand has Extinction Event, has a Swamp, has Thoughtseize, has Needle. Yeah, we'll keep. All right, we're gonna Thoughtseize our opponent. Now, I think just going ahead and taking Cure is probably good. All right, with Pithing Needle, we got to name Karn. I mean, they can always Besage you, but name Karn. We just got to make sure that we see them getting something potentially bad off of that. But instead, they just go for the Heart's Desire. Okay. All right, so now we are in a weird spot. All right, I think I'm just going to go ahead and do this because worst case scenario, they cast Besage on this and we get advanced a land, which is not too bad given our current situation. Alright, they cast Wolf Willowhaven. Yep, and this was the exact scenario we were worried about. Yep. Alright. There's the Beseju. Thankfully, we get our, red mana now. Alright, cool. So, we get rid of that. Okay. So opponent's not activating their Lair of the Hydra, which is a little surprising given the current circumstance. Let's make this decision hard for them, though. Alright. So, what you Besejuing? You decide to Beseju that. That means you got Karn in hand. Alright. Alright. Come on. Show it to us, opponent. Nope. They went for the Storm the Festival. Interesting. I mean, if they hit, something good off of it, they hit Karn. Alright. So, Cavalier and... Okay. So, Fable, second chapter. We're going to get rid of a Graveyard Trespasser and a land, only to get done dirty by our deck again. Okay, so we're going to do this. Take the Storm the Festival. Make them play the other Cavalier out of their hand, and, we'll definitely be taking some damage off of this, but we're going to force them to do something that they don't want to. Right opponent plays land, and they play their other Cavalier. Now they are up to 7, 8 devotion off of Nykthos. There's a Karn. And they've got enough mana to vote, too. Instead, they just Chariot. Interesting. Alright. Alright, so I think here we're just going to take the third Cavalier out of their graveyard. They've got something in hand. Okay. Yep. We're going to let that die. And then we're just going to go ahead and deal with this. Gonna go ahead and name odd because that's the terrifying bits here. Alright, cool. Alright, Oath and Nissa, that's gonna help them dig deeper in their deck for something. They get an Elvish Mystic, so not the greatest thing, thankfully. Okay. Activate Karn. Cityscape Leveler. Yep, and they took out our Soul Blocker. They're going to crew and swing for 7. Yeah, this game's wrapped up, but let's just see what we get off the top. Maybe that'll change the situation a little bit. Yeah, it doesn't change it at all. Let's just go ahead and draw with this. Alright. Yeah, alright. GG's opponent. On to the next one. Alright, so game number 3. An opponent is likely going to be on the play. Alright, so our hand. It's not bad. It's very reactive. But we can go Thoughtseize on 1, Den and Reckoner on 2. So it's not bad. We'll keep. Alright, Botanical Sanctum and Grazer. So we are playing against Lotus Field. This has not been a great league of matchups for the old Rakdos deck. Alright, so Hive. And there's the Lotus Field. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and take their Emergent Ultimatum. It's really tempting to just kind of scoop now, but opponent really doesn't have the ability to like tap out and do anything meaningful. Like, okay, they play Impulse, they get something, they play Lotus Field, and they can't do the twiddle shenanigans that they normally would. Alright, so man, this is not a fantastic matchup for us. In fact, this is probably one of the worst matchups. No real way to try and win through it in game 1. And they've got the ability to copy, which they will at our end step. They'll hit the Dark Petition. I mean, the move for us here is just to go ahead. Risking it to try and draw a land does seem like a decent idea. Alright, cool. So, taking that was fine. And then we'll just pass. Alright, so doing the Lotus Field copy. Cool. And opponent's going to play Temple of Mystery. They're going to use their Sylvan Scrying to find something. Unless they just happen to have a good draw spell off the top. Okay, opponent had 4 over the pages. Cool. Alright, so let's just see what opponent does here. Opponent mulling over the fact that they have so much to choose from. Alright. So, opponent discarded an impulse. They get a Thespian stage. They're going to copy the Lotus Field yet again. Well, now they've got 9 mana at their disposal. If they have a wish spell, they can go and get Zetalpa out of their sideboard. Alright, we're gonna play Kroxa, and in response to the triggers, we're gonna go ahead and just crew. I mean, if we can get through some amount of damage, it's not bad for us. Alright. So, opponent discards their Temple of Mystery. So now we have no idea what's in their hand. Alright. Opponent didn't block with their Grazer. Let's see. They got all this mana, but what can they do with it? Alright. Making a lot of green. And opponent just trying to work through all their lines. Bala get recovery to get back their Dark Petition. Alright, so as long as opponent has some way to kind of twiddle their lands, which they do, then they probably fetched up the Emergent Ultimatum off of the Dark Petition, which, if they play that, then we are effectively done for. But we're going to make them have it. Oh, they just play Lear. Okay. So yeah, then everything starts to get a little intense. They make a lot of land, they make a lot of mana, yeah. Alright. Might be an early concession, but who knows. Alright. Chandra's bad. Push is bad. I mean, we can stop Thespian stage. Alright, and we're going to bring in the 2 Invoke Despairs. Most of our removal doesn't do a whole lot in this matchup. So we're going to drop that. And we'll go ahead and drop... I really want to say to go ahead and drop the Kolaghan's command here. There's not a whole lot that we can do with it besides just like taking something off at their upkeep. Then we do have the ability to bring something. Yeah. Better than everything else that we have available to us in this moment. Alright. we are going to be on the play. It looks fine. Alright, opponents trying to decide and get everything ready for themselves. Alright, there we go. Sweet. Alright. Land go. Alright, opponent plays Botanical Sanctum and passes. Interesting that they didn't have a play there. We didn't draw a land, so this is really going to be brutal if everything goes the way that it did in the last game. We'll play Croxa, make them discard, and then just pass. Okay, Hidden Strings. Good because they can't necessarily combo any turns soon. Alright, Sylvan Scrying, get a Lotus Field. Alright. I really want to say that we should just tear apart their hand right now. But they're going to have to struggle hard in order to actually combo off into anything meaningful next turn. So let's go ahead and play the Fable, get the token. Next turn we can discard Dreadbore and something else. Yeah, so they Impulse, try to hit something good. But next turn, if we draw a land, we might be able to double spell. This is a reason not to net deck because I pulled this deck list offline, and this is the time where Damping Spirit has really made a resurgence in the meta, and it is a great sideboard card against this deck. Alright, they play Lotus Field, sack their 2 lands. Alright, so Fable, yeah, we're going to use its ability. Honestly, the fact that we drew a land is fine. We're just going to discard the Dreadbore here. Alright. Hitting another land. Not as ideal, but you know. We take what we can get. Alright, so attack. Opponent takes 2. Alright, and then we're just going to play Blood Tithe. Make a blood. Alright. Alright, and boom. Go blank our opponent. See, the perfect time to have just, you know, the little keyboard set up so I can just have sounds play whenever I need it to. Have a nice, like, old styled sitcom expletive noise. Alright, let's see what they got rid of. Alright, they got rid of Behold the Beyond. Cool. And Thespian Stage, but they had another in hand just as insurance. Okay, so what's going to happen for us here? Alright, so we can actually just, like, K command and make our opponent discard. And honestly, it might be fine to just bring back Croxa and make him discard again. So get back Croxa, hit him with the discard. And again, we're putting some pressure on our opponent. Admittedly, it's not a significant amount. Alright, cool. We take a Twiddle ability out of their hand. Alright. Alright, got an impulse out of their hand. Alright, so opponent's probably going to pour over the pages here, and then they're just going to attempt to go off. And it's possible for them to, but we'll see. Alright, opponent plays a Botanical Sanctum. And what's opponent going to do? Opponent could play Leer here if they tap that and then a Botanical Sanctum. Instead, they are casting something big. Maybe it's another pour over the pages? Nope, it's Balagad Recovery, which does get them back pour over the pages, but it uses all of their mana to do so. And they discard a Leyline of Sanctity. So let's see if opponents got it. They've got their 6 mana. It's either Dark Petition or something else that could be really horrid for us. Let's see. Okay, so they go Mastermind's Acquisition. They can get Hidden Strings and then keep going from here. Yep. Alright, opponent has 3 cards in hand, and they're using white mana for something. Nope, they play a Leer. Okay. Interesting. I mean, thankfully we can just copy our Blood Tithe Harvester with the Reflection of Kiki Jiki. Or we can just do this. Wow, opponent scooped it up. Alright, that's rad. Anything that we want to change? Not really. Let's run it back. This is probably one of the weirder matchups for our deck. Alright, so opponent is going to be on the play. We've got some decent plays on turn 1 and turn 2. I really actually think this hand is keepable. Turn 1, Thoughtseize. Depending on what we see in their hand, we could do a turn 2 Kroxa. Turn 2 Bankbuster helps us draw out of this, 2-land hand. That's been the really unfortunate situation with this deck. Wow. Okay, cool. So they opening turn Leyline of Sanctity us, but they mulliganed hard in order to get there. Alright, cool. We're just gonna play Blood Crypt, tapped, and pass. So admittedly, we're gonna be able to do something here. They're going to Sylvan Scrying and get the Lotus Field, that's fine. We've got the Croxa in this hand that we can play. And then next turn we can go and do Blood Tithe Harvester into Shocked Blood Crypt if we don't draw another land, and just get rid of this Thoughtseize because it's not doing us any favors in the current situation. Alright, so opponent plays Impulse. We know that they've got Lotus Field in hand. They're probably going to play it this turn because they've got a fairly protected hand. Fairly protected, as if Leyline of Sanctity ain't doing the job entirely for them. Okay. So again, this is our situation. We can play Blood Tithe Harvester. We get this blood token. We play Blood Crypt untapped. And we just pass. Make them think that we have something, though. Realistically, I don't think that they can play anything that would be terrifying to us in the moment. Alright, Belaged Recovery, getting back the Thespian stage. Brutal. Alright. Let's go ahead and get rid of that Thoughtseize. Urborg. Interesting. Alright, so Dreadbore is not the finest thing for us here. Just go ahead and play Bankbuster. Alright. So, opponent's got to have Twiddle Effect in hand. Next turn we can swing for 7. Honestly, it might be good if they do nothing this turn to crew with Reckoner Bankbuster on their end step. Or during our turn. Yeah, so we're going to do it like this. We're going to animate our Hive of the Eye Tyrant, and then we're going to crew with our Bankbuster. Alright, and now we swing. Alright, let's go ahead and the most problematic card for us outside of Balagad Recovery, which there's nothing else to take, is Hidden Strings because it keeps their combo going. Okay. So, swing. Now, opponent's got 7 mana at their disposal. They could cast something like Zetalpa. They could, well, they'd have to have the red and the white. Red, white, green, and then 4. Yeah, so they can cast Zetalpa. They can play Dark Petition. But even Dark Petition, I feel like we've still got some chance, something that we can do. But let's see. Pour over the pages. Alright, so opponent is really taking their time. Alright, pour over the pages, they draw their cards, They untap their lands. What are they discarding? Opponent could be down to 9 this turn if we had instead swung with Den of the Bugbear last turn instead of the Hive of the Eye Tyrant, but I don't really think that's changing too much of our current situation. Alright, opponent gets another Thespian Stage. So they're just going to have obscene amounts of mana ready next turn. But doesn't really look like they're going to be doing a whole lot with any of it. Alright, they Masterminds Acquisition. What they getting? They got Thespian Stage and 2 unknowns. Chances are they got something decent out of this entire exchange. Alright, let's see. We can Croxa, Crew. Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead, cast Croxa. Crew. Alright. Opponent literally has to win this next turn. Admittedly. Alright, sweet. We won. Alright, see you guys in the next match. Alright, we are in match number 4. Alright, so 2 Croxas, Shieldred, Bone Crusher. Opponent doesn't reveal any companions. Unfortunately, this format's not a lot like Modern, where you can start to get a good idea, before the game even begins, but this hand's got 3 lands, 2 pieces of, hand hate. Not bad. Okay, so opponent has a turn 1 Mox Amber and a Hollowed Fountain. They're doing something with Legends. Alright. Drawing Chandra kind of sucks here, but, it is what it is. Alright, Blood Crypt tapped and pass. What's opponent doing on our end step? They're just considering. Alright, it's just to consider in the yard. They're Jeskai, Emery, Third Path, Bitter Reunion. Okay. No idea what opponent's doing. We ended up hitting the spicy bracket. Alright, let's go ahead and just hit that. Alright, opponent didn't have a Spell Pierce. Okay. So now we can actually cast Croxa and then just push Emery, which ain't bad. Alright, so we gotta do it like this, unfortunately. So let's force our opponent to get rid of something from their hand. Okay, opponent. What you gonna get rid of? They get rid of a portable hole. Alright, cool. So they're Jeskai artifacts? Alright. So push Emery. Interesting. Still have no idea what they're doing, but I mean, seems cool. 2 third path iconoclast. Opponent doesn't have. I mean, I just kind of go ahead and do this. Gonna destroy an artifact, make you discard. Alright, discard, artifact, boop, boop, boop. Cool. Alright, it resolves. What's opponent gonna get rid of? They get rid of a retraction helix. What is opponent doing? Oh, they're an ascendancy deck. Oh, Sheoldred's just gonna run over them. Oh, yeah, opponent. Can you deal with Sheoldred? I mean, you don't have any creatures on the field. Doesn't really seem like you're doing the traditional 4-color ascendancy thing. Alright, just Kroxa. You know, it's after 2 devastating losses back to back that the shuffle truthers almost make a little bit of sense. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and stomp here. And opponent gonna let us swing through with our Sheoldred after it. Yep, alright. Alright, and swing with Sheoldred pass. Opponent is down to 10 once the stack is empty on their draw step. Opponent is about to play something. Oh, Fajali Archaeologist? Okay, interesting. They have a lot of cards. They could put a counter on it, make it a little bit more resilient, but they put a card back. Alright, they get themselves a Mishra's Research Desk. And then I ding them for another little bit after they draw and discard. Alright. Cool. Alright. Is the stack empty, opponent? They take 4, or rather, they go down to 4. They exile some cards with Mishra's Research Desk. They're both lands. Hot diggity dog, that is not a great scenario. Okay. So I kill opponent on the crackback. Alright, sweet. Into game number 2. Alright, so we're playing against Jeskai Ascendancy. I mean, Go Blank's good, as is Invoke Despair. And I think out of the cards that we don't want, we don't really want anything that's sorcery speed if we can avoid it. Again, Chandra is kind of useless here. like I pointed out in the intro, she is probably just there to get through some extra damage when the board gets gummed up, and that's really it. Okay, so we are going to be on the play. No, the draw. And we're going to keep this hand. Again, slow. This is a slow hand. But with the way that this deck plays out, we're probably not doing anything on turn 1. This is definitely a very, again, unique situation. They could play Emery on turn 2, and having the Blood Tithe Harvester is going to be good for us in that situation. I think on turn 1, we want to go with a Haunted Ridge here, unless we get a untapped source beyond our Hive of the Eye Tyrant. But opponent's just shocking in a Steam Vent, which makes me think they've got Spell Pierce. Alright, Haunted Ridge tapped, go ahead. Alright, consider. Oh. Opponent mulligan. Hard. Okay. Alright, so we got Castle Locthwain in hand. If we draw a land on our next 2 draw steps, we're gonna be in a decent spot. Alright, so opponent plays a Bitter Reunion, draw a discard. Hopefully they're going to do something. Okay, they discard a Sacred Foundry, and they play a Hollowed Fountain. Man. Alright, so let's just go ahead and play another Blood Tithe Harvester. Swing for 3. We got 6 power on board. Opponent could play an Ascendancy next turn and really start to present a potential clock. Opponent plays Otawara. What are they going to do? They play a third path. Now, if they do end up somehow going off, like, that third path is going to be insane. Instead, they just play 2. Okay. Alright. Alright, we're just gonna boom boom. Alright, opponent's got 1 card in hand. They've got no threats on board. We've got a Sheoldred coming down next turn. And all they do is play a third path. Opponent just got extremely unlucky. I mean, let's just go ahead and play Sheoldred out and shock in that land. We really don't have a reason not to. I mean, the worst that they're going to do is roast our Sheoldred. Yeah. Alright. So, opponent, what you gonna do? You just crack it on the end step and cast Retraction Helix, and you return Sheoldred to our hand. So you bought yourself an extra turn. Okay. I have so many questions. Alright, so let's just go ahead and Alright. Opponent's got no cards in hand. They've got over lethal coming at them. They got to block with something. They're probably going to block the Den of the Bugbear with third path. Alright, cool. Didn't go ahead and just do the thing, but that's fine. Honestly, in this situation, we're just gonna cycle the Fable. Alright, pass. Opponent can't win. They're not gonna win. GG's opponent. Alright, see you guys in the final match. Alright, we are in the final match. So, we're gonna be on the play. Hand's garbage. Hand's okay. What do we want to put back in this hand? I'm kind of the opinion that K command's good to put back here. Alright, we're gonna start by Blood Crypt tapped on 1. Turn 2, we're gonna play Kroxa. Okay, opponent plays red land tapped. I think they're just mono red. Because if they're playing that, it's either prowess or mono red, but this isn't, again, modern, so prowess not really a thing. Fiery Impulse. Okay, so they are Phoenix. Okay, so opponent's going to cast Fiery Trespass here, and then, or Fiery Impulse, use that as a means to discard a Phoenix into the yard. No, they get rid of a Temporal Trespass. Interesting. Okay. Um, and they pieces of the puzzle. Okay, so Shredder and everything else, they only get Opt in hand? Um, Alright, so we're just gonna play the Fable here. We're not gonna run the Shieldred out just yet, just because I think the opponent's going to either have some type of counter spell or just some type of removal for it. And I want to ensure that they don't have anything. Alright, they play Treasure Cruise. Would have been a great time to actually play it, unfortunately. So now they've refueled. They've probably got a hand that is absolutely stacked. Alright, opponent played Lightning Axe. Alright, so now they're going to play or they play Consider. Okay. Alright, they play Land. Um, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and use Fable's ability, get rid of both of those. Yikes. Alright, so opponent's probably going to get rid of our Shieldred. if they're smart on their draw step. What's opponent doing here? They play Crackling Drake. Interesting. Wow. I mean, right here is just perfect time to do that. Okay. So, what's opponent going to do this turn? They can either draw just a obscene amount of cards for themselves and hopefully draw into just gas. Alright, so opponent's going to take 2 more. Okay, opponent draws 2, take 2 more. Okay. So opponent is playing Phoenix. Alright, so go blanks are fine. Again, K command, that, and I really want to say a Dreadbore. Probably the things to get rid of. Having those go blanks alone is just going to be really good for us in this matchup. Alright, so hand is good. Keep this. Okay, 5 on 1. Alright, let's see what opponent does. Alright, play land tapped. Alright, we're just gonna go ahead and play Soakens and play Blood Tithe Harvester. Our hand is still staying relatively decent. If we can draw into Shieldred at any point in like the next 2 turns, this hand gets insane. Now let's see what opponent does. Okay, they play land, and they just pass. This makes me think that they have something removally in hand. Okay. This also makes me believe that they have a counter spell as well. And I think we really just want to maximize on just stopping them from doing their things. Alright, we're going to take Fiery Impulse out of their yard. Alright, opponent's digging. Consider. Consider. Opponent's going for it. Okay, so opponent doesn't know what's about to hit him, but this is going to be a real bad turn for him. Oh, wait. Hmm. Alright, we're just gonna play land this turn. I mean, opponent's got one card in hand. I think whatever they do here isn't really going to be enough to overcome our board. Oh. So we're just gonna take both their creatures. Okay, so yeah, discard. Okay, so really good turn. Got revolt, double push both of their threats, and as long as they don't really draw any lands for a good bit of time, it should be fine. Are they just going to pieces of the puzzle here? No, they cast Saheeli. I mean, animate? Like, we attack Saheeli, exile a Phoenix? Interesting, okay. I've seen these decks run Saheeli in the past, so that definitely tracks. Okay, so Phoenix is exiled, they're gonna block. Shieldred's not, or not Shieldred. Saheeli's not gonna die. But Saheeli is within stomp range, which is good for us here. Okay, so what's the opponent going to do? They reveal 5 cards. What's gonna go into their hand? So they've got Galvanic Iteration. Okay, so unfortunately, I think I just gotta. Okay, so they got us with that one, I'll admit. Um, and we really don't want to swing in this scenario. What opponent's probably going to do is that they're going to either draw something incredible off of the top, or they're just going to Galvanic Iteration something. Okay, what do they get off of this one? They get Consider. So opponent really doesn't have any threats here, which is fine. I will say, getting rid of Saheeli is probably our main priority at this point. They're already getting way too much value off of her. But we know that their hand is Galvanic Iteration and something. Alright, let's start by stomping. Alright, Alright, so next turn we can at least Kroxa and do something decent. Alright, so they toss their Galvanic, which is interesting. Now, if we draw land next turn, we can stomp one of the tokens and Fable of the Mirror Breaker. His opponent just casting another... Okay. Galvanic. And are they doing the insane draw situation? It looks that way. All right, they Treasure Cruise, draw 6. Wow. All right, so opponent refueled pretty hard. And then they're gonna do what? Get rid of my Blood Tithe Harvester? And then they'll be able to get their Arclight Phoenix back out of the grave. Oh, 2 Arclights. So that's 6, 10. Don't think we're coming back from that. Let's just see what we get here off the top. Probably nothing great, and admittedly, losing some of the lands that we have cost us this game. We did this to ourselves here. Yeah. All right. So, game 3. Okay. So, game 3, we are going to be on the play. Is there anything that we want to take out? I think taking out another Dreadbore. And then let's go ahead and bring in the Extinction Events. I know that those have a pretty high potential to take out an entire board of now their Saheeli tokens, their creatures. Everything relevant that they want to play against us is going to be 2 or 4 mana. And unfortunately, we just didn't see our 3 and 4 mana things that really help us in that matchup, besides the one Go Blank. All right, match 3 of our final round. We are on the play. Okay, so Misery Shadow can be great. Go Blank, great. We're going to keep this hand just on the back of Misery Shadow and Go Blank in our opening hand. All right, opponent kept theirs. We're going to start with the Den and pass. Okay, Odawara, Hive, Shadow, go. Now, chances are, unless opponent actually has removal in hand, they're not going to be able to get rid of Misery Shadow after this next turn. And they literally have to have Fiery Impulse or Lightning Axe right now to deal with it. Because in almost every other situation, once we get to turn 4, they cannot kill it without double spelling. Okay. We're going to play land. And I think we're going to go for this really risky play of playing Fable of the Mirror Breaker. We're going to be able to toss 2 spells, or rather 2 lands next turn, for the possibility of hitting some really impactful spells. Well, let's see what happens. Alright, opponent on 2 lands, no red. Alright, there's Lava Glide. An opponent just plays Lava Glide and passes. Okay, so we gotta use Fable of the Mirror Breaker's ability. but I'm honestly thinking that we really want to get rid of this redundant Fable more than anything else. Yeah, redundant Fable, Takanuma. Okay, and we made a pretty solid choice here. So let's start by just swinging and seeing if we can make it through our attack. Alright, an opponent's probably got something like Spell Pierce in hand or Negate. But opponent takes it. This really makes us question what our opponent's hand was in this scenario. Alright, opponent really thinking this over. Alright, cool. So, opponent got rid of a treasure cruise and a land. Okay, so their hand has to be insane. Alright, let's see if they play a creature, because if they do, we can just push it while the hot dog. Okay, so okay. Wow, and we get extinction event. Holy cow. Hey, and there we go. The old 3-2. Alright, see you guys in the wrap up. Alright, so Rakdos Midrange did Rakdos Midrange things. The two Croxas in the main feel great. The two Misery Shadow feel perfect. Honestly, I still like the 4 Graveyard Trespassers in the main, even though when we saw more than the normal 2, the third ended up not being the best. But that was more situational than anything else. I still feel like 4 Graveyard Trespasser is the overall place to be with the deck. Also, I like the 2 Shieldred rather than the 3. I do think that the deck still should run some Planeswalker in it. Be that Chandra, be that Liliana, maybe even New Vraska. I think she's got some, legs. Well, not really because she's a snake, but anyway. Alright, 3-2. Can't be upset with it. Midrange did midrange things. I'll see you guys in the next one.